We're always trying to be proactive with our marketing strategy. We never want our clients to be like, what are you doing for us? We want to be
Hmm.
pushing them. So being really transparent and being really proactive, just showing that we're always thinking what's next for them and wanting their input and valuing where they're trying to go and stuff.
Yeah.
So not sticking with same old, same old. Don't get comfortable. I think that is just really important. And then also don't forget the importance of having genuine relationships and conversations, like being really authentic. And I think being real is definitely really important too, because then they'll trust you and want to come to you and ask you for help and stuff.
Elizabeth Carter is the account director at RED66 Marketing, and she is here with us today. She's going to fill us in on what it's like being on the front line, talking to the agency's clients, and then translating their challenges, their dreams, their desires back to the team and implement execution. And she's a part of the leadership team, and we're going to get into all of that today. Elizabeth, welcome to eCoffee with Experts.
Thank you so much. Super excited.
Yeah, me too. Me too. You guys actually have a podcast. It's not something you directly manage, but you're involved because you're on the leadership team. Tell me a little bit more about what it means to be in a leadership position at an agency.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we are a digital marketing agency, and we mostly do like websites, SEO, but we also kind of cover everything when it comes to the marketing needs for our clients. So in a leadership role, there's kind of a lot to juggle with all of that. So we have seats that we need to fill to make sure everybody is getting the resources they need. So design, SEO, paid search. We need to manage new business. We need to manage profit and all that accounting and math and all of that fun stuff about the business, but also learn or think about new ways to grow the business, think about ways for developing our team to, learn new things and kind of grow in the areas they want to grow. So it's a lot about looking at the business and like big picture and looking at where we want to go and then kind of breaking it down, how we're going to get there. So it's really honestly a great role to have. I feel really fortunate to be able to have that because I get to be behind the scenes in how we want the business to progress, but also help make it happen. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And the team you mentioned to me off camera that everyone is kind of trained at least high level in SEO and like maybe a little bit of strategy, maybe a little bit of execution, some more than others. How does having like an understanding of everyone on the team having an understanding of SEO affect communication?
Yeah. I mean, it's nice it reduces on edits when you're doing content, right? So a lot of our team is writing content, whether that's web pages, whether that's blogs, whether that's email, socials. So not having to edit a lot, not having to do a lot of explanation or education on why. They already kind of know why, because we're always learning. We've always dropped in new articles in the chat. Hey, did you guys read about this update, about that, with AI summaries and everything? So staying up to date on what those changes are, is really just helpful with honestly efficiency and talking to clients too. So anybody on our team can answer basic questions about SEO for our clients, which, they are asking questions, often they want to understand it or hearing it more. It's not such a new term anymore. So
Yeah, I love that. AI is becoming more and more effective, I guess, in editing. But even if we can, there's not as much of a need for AI if you have someone that has a foundation of SEO and marketing, and they at least understand from a basic level, like what's right and what's wrong. It can even make the AI even more effective. So in your role, like you're talking to clients quite a bit. Like when does that start in the process? As in when a new client gets brought on to Red 66, I'm sure there's like an onboarding, like a kickoff call, and then maybe one or two other follow-up calls. When does your role really take over? Are you part of that process from the beginning?
Yeah. Yep. Usually, our founder, Rebecca, she is our new business person, although pretty much everyone on the team can bring in new business
Sure.
if we have the opportunity. But as soon as there's interest, we kind of figure out, okay, which account manager has capacity, which account manager is, maybe in the right area. We have clients all over the country. So I'm based in Chicago. Our company's in Grand Rapids, but all the Chicago clients are mine because I can go visit them, right?
Yeah.
So we kind of take a lot of things into consideration, and then usually just the original first meeting with the clients, we'll have that account manager on there so they know right away who they're going to be working with. They get that continuity. Then, usually, I think probably because I'm on the leadership team, I do help by writing or finishing up some proposals. We get them basic notes from Rebecca or whoever brings in the new client. And then we write the proposals and kind of go from there, try to be there to answer questions. When we do get everything signed and we start with the kickoff, we have our account strategist, Kimberly, we have Rebecca on there, we have our creative director. If the client wants to start with paid ads right away, we can have our paid ad specialist on there. Kind of depends on what their agreement is. But the account manager is brought on pretty much right away. The more background they have, the better, right? So even in those meetings when you're just kind of learning about the client, it's just really helpful to know. Because then Rebecca doesn't have to remember all the things that she wanted to communicate. You're just kind of there.
Right. Nice. Tell me a little bit more about what sort of processes, like what's your process for staying in touch with the client? At least in terms of, we're talking about retention and like client satisfaction. It's pretty easy to do that early on because people are excited. They're ready to get
Hmm.
going. They want to grow their business. But as time moves on, you're implementing web development, you're implementing SEO. It takes a while, depending on what services you're offering, it can take longer or shorter to see results. So I'm curious what sort of processes you've implemented that keep the client engaged, keep them optimistic, what does that look like?
Yeah, yeah. Well, we definitely pride ourselves on our relationships. A lot of Rebecca's clients followed her from different agencies until she started her own.
Mm,
So we have clients that are 12 years, 15 years that have worked with us for that long. So we, um, are pleasantly persistent. These guys are really busy. So we always are. We never let anything slip through the cracks. We kind of always remind them. Most of them, we have monthly meetings so that we can talk to them face to face, virtual face to face, and and catch up on everything, prioritize things like that. We're just kind of meeting the client where they need to be met, right? Some clients we text because that's just easier for them.
mm,
Getting on the email, they're out and about a lot maybe, so texting them is easier or talking on the phone. Sometimes they prefer that. So it just kind of depends. And then I mentioned our account strategist. We are always looking for what's next. We are always looking for news in their industries. We're always, AI, of course. And so we're always trying to be proactive with our marketing strategy. We never want our clients to be like, what are you doing for us? We want to be
mhm,
pushing them. We want to be like, okay, here's our plan, and, sometimes they'll be like, no, that's too much. Let's bring it back down a little bit. Or they'll be like, yeah, great. Let's try it. We want to try something new. So they trust us to be that expert for them
mhm.
and kind of lead it. And we obviously need their input, right? Like we don't want to be chasing a market that they're not interested in growing in. So that's why we have those meetings. We also use a reporting dashboard that shows their website data, lead forms, social media, like all of that stuff that they can access whenever they want. They can change the data, the dates around and compare it so they can see everything is transparent. Like we want them to have visuals on everything they want to see. Some of them they're like, yeah, okay, great. I'm like, I don't think you read that, but they have
Yeah.
it if they want it, right? So being really transparent and being really proactive, just showing that we're always thinking what's next for them and wanting their input and valuing where they're trying to go and stuff.
Yeah.
So not sticking with same old, same old.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, meeting the client where they're at, everybody is a unique little snowflake in their own way, and
Yes.
and in that way they are all very similar because everybody needs, they need their own special treatment. You mentioned you're in Chicago, and therefore as a client-facing role, you get the opportunity to go see your clients, and as AI becomes more and more ingrained in our everyday life, those in-person interactions are going to carry a lot more weight, I think. And there's some
Hmm.
agencies that are still maybe a little bit behind because they are leaning too far into the AI, and that's what they think is bringing, a deeper relationship to the client. Yes, it can create better results, but at the same time, that personal touch, meeting somebody at their office or out for lunch or coffee, I think carries a lot of weight. Can you tell me a little bit more about maybe relationships that you've seen built over in-person reactions?
Oh yeah. I mean, I will say the favorite marketing thing, it kind of depends. There are, I would say, some clients that they just want the
Yeah.
automation, they just want things, but I think definitely our clients really value that relationship because they give that relationship to their clients. We have a lot of B2B clients.
Yeah.
But we work with the clients in uniform and linen rental. And so we are one of their vendors and we attend their yearly trade show in Las Vegas. We go to their breakouts and we go learn as much as we can about their industry. We're also members of another like industry association that a lot of them are involved with. And we're going to a marketing summit in a couple weeks in
Mm,
Boston. So we're always learning and we're kind of always there. We're also like, and that gives us a lot of good face time, right? And a lot of these clients are all over the country. So being able to talk with them, you would not believe what you learn, what they just casually will drop. You're like, you what now? Like things that I was like, that would have been really great to know. Like, cause you just don't get that in kind of that like email or even like virtual meetings because you got your agenda and it's kind of
yeah.
not as kind of relaxing and chill, you know, and
Yeah.
things just kind of come out that are just more organic. And I think that's just really valuable. And I think even just the marketing community in general, like being on the American Marketing Association board, COVID really, took out our membership and our numbers. And when I joined a couple of years ago, we were doing surveys and they really just wanted in person meetings, in person
Yeah.
events. And they were saying after, because we had keynote speakers, they were saying after just to talk, people just missed socializing. So we put in a couple more events that were like less structured. It was just casual coffee and it was in the morning before work. And it was really popular. Like people came and talked and networked and it was really just something that people have been missing, I think, since COVID.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to slip into the remote work, virtual call. Like it's easy, but it's just not the same.
Yeah.
So it just strengthens those relationships and, gets you to know these people on like a little bit of a deeper level and you can kind of understand them better and then
Mm.
market for them better.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's so true. It's so true. Like we had just come back from a conference in San Diego with Ahrefs Evolve, and it still baffles me that how I can have a relationship with somebody online for however many times we meet over the course of a year, and it still won't be as strong as a a 30-minute conversation over dinner or drinks
Yeah.
in person. It's just like, man, how did we miss that? That's crazy.
Yeah. Even
So
talking on the phone sometimes is just it's
yeah.
gets you a little bit further now. Like
Mhm.
I can be following up with a client every 2 weeks and I get one phone call half an hour and I've covered 3 months of things that I needed to cover and
Yeah.
learned a little something about what's going on in their life too. So you can be a little
Yes.
more sympathetic of what they are going through and understand. Report back to the team. This is part of the leadership thing too. Like we have a catalog in the process for a client and they're really busy. They've got like family things going on. And I'm telling our designer, hey, you don't need to worry about this right now. That's not a priority. You can work on other things. So she's not stressed that, we haven't heard from them and stuff. So just you learn that kind of stuff and it makes everything kind of go smoother on both sides.
That's exactly it's funny you say that. That's exactly what I wanted to ask you about is how do you communicate the insights and like the yeah, I guess like the depths of the holistic part of the client. How do you communicate that stuff back to the team and what do you communicate knowing that you have your SEO hat on? Maybe it's for content, maybe it's for strategy. What's that process like for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty smooth. We do have, our account coordinators that are writing a lot of the content. They join our client meetings, and our team is really great at communicating. We use like G Suite and use the chats all the time. And so they're even included on the client email. So when I'm in my account manager mode, they're in their content and account coordinator mode. So we're getting the same email, the same information, whatever, but I'm getting a lot different things than they are and
Mm,
they'll pull things out that I don't even notice. So really it's just kind of including them in everything. And then, we talk to them after either in chat or maybe, hey, we hop on a quick call. Be like, here's what I was thinking. And usually we're pretty much aligned because they were there and they know what's going on. As the like manager, you're usually being looked at to make the decision or to be the strategic one here. And I try to encourage them to like, what would you do? And like think about, different ideas or opportunities to kind of push them to grow a little bit. And I think that's helps empower them too, because then they're thinking more while they're in those client calls and stuff. So it's kind of just everybody's involved and I don't have to do as much
mm,
communicating because they're included. Just because I'm doing the talking or whatever, just because I'm the face, it doesn't mean that I'm like smarter or doing more work or better. Honestly, they're doing more work. Sometimes it seems like
right.
so. giving them the space to just, like, take what they need and then ask you if they need something. That's kinda my method.
Yeah, yeah, I like that. I like that. Pulling it over to the SEO side of things, what are you like? What's the team kind of seeing as AI dominates? The AI overviews and LLMs. How is that changing? Or maybe let me ask, what have you seen change in terms of SEO strategy or approach? Over in the last like 12 to 24 months.
Yeah, I mean, clients are asking a lot more about AI, so we're trying to educate ourselves more about AI, and then, honestly, we saw it coming, right? Like, as soon as AI started getting popular, we're like, "Alright, we better start thinking how we're gonna be redoing copy,
Mm,
how we're gonna explaining what we're doing because clients are gonna wanna ask," and of course they are, because everybody can use ChatGPT.
mm-hmm,
So I think our team is strong, not to brag, but we're really strong at SEO, like, our rankings, knock on wood, have been pretty stable and steady.
mm,
I think because we have been proactive. So really the things that we're seeing, we're having a lot more, I think, spam leads coming through. And I think that's kind
mm,
of been industry wide that like spams coming through maybe a little bit more from paid ads or things like that. So changing up, making sure we have good landing pages for the paid ads. And we're really speaking to the issues that our searchers are feeling, right? Like answering those
mm,
pain points, because that's people just want to get to the solution quickly, right? They're not trying to explore and do stuff usually. They want when it comes to at least our clients and stuff, they usually know what they need. So we just want to be like, okay, here's where we know you're hurting. Here's how we can solve that. Uh,
mm,
Trying to clear out the spam by just making really clear content that answers the questions very easily, lists and how to's and things like that.
mm.
I mean, because that's pretty much just what you see in those AI summaries, right? Like, when
Mhm.
you're doing you see a lot of lists and comparisons and stuff, so we kinda just look at those and we're like, "Alright, let's work these into our blogs and let's do this," and then we show the client, "Hey, here's our plan for how we're gonna change writing content." We're not just gonna try and rank number 1 for keywords, we're gonna try and really speak to the user and
Mhm.
answer questions and think like the user.
Yeah, yeah. And a lot of that I would imagine comes from the conversations that you're having with the clients.
Mhm.
You're using I would imagine that you're taking some sort of note taker, like a
Yes.
Fathom or what tool do you
Yeah.
use to do that?
We like Gemini,
Okay.
the Google Gemini recording one, yeah.
Ah, okay. Nice.
Mhm.
And then what's the workflow kind of after the meeting ends, and you have the notes? Where do those notes go? What do you do with them?
Yeah, definitely. That's a good question. So we have everybody on the, account usually on the meeting. If the team knows, say we leave this meeting and it's like, okay, we changed this blog topic, they can take that. We use Asana as our task organizer. So they'll just change that themselves. I don't need to be like, hey, change the blog. They know.
Mm,
But if there's something a little more abstract, we might set a meeting to kind of talk about next steps. We might just chat about it a little bit. We might put the task in Asana with some like details and be like, hey, you guys got any questions? And then usually we try to get that kind of set up and then we'll write like a summary of clients' next steps, our next steps, and email it to everybody that was at the meeting so that we know who's got homework for the next meeting and stuff like that.
yeah.
So, yeah, so kind of like that, and then we do have a, like, marketing content calendar that helps us guide our deliverables, so we usually just touch base on that, just being like, "Okay, is this stuff still what we're trying to go for here?" And just make sure that that stuff's still accurate because sometimes we change topics.
Yeah. Yeah, very true. I was thinking of like a workflow or an automation. Was curious if you had any sort of like workflows that are taking things off of your plate or making your process more efficient or yeah, just making your life easier in general.
Yeah, we have made our, automated dashboard that made our lives a lot easier, and that was with agency analytics. But I think our team uses like AI and ChatGPT a lot for like problem solving. So, say we have like an issue come up with a website, we kind of use it to walk us through basic problem solving and work through that before maybe escalating it to our web team or development or something like that.
Mm,
We use it a lot for like data analysis, and that's really helpful, I think. and
Mhm.
we do use it for content, but our team is really strong with content too. But so I think it's more the organizing the data and analyzing it, and then like being able to use our reports in it to analyze data and stuff like that, because our clients are looking at our reports and be like, okay, what am I looking at, right?
Mhm.
So wanting to kind of help analyze the data, and that takes saved a lot of time for our team because they were spending hours every month writing these reports and analyzing the data, and that just kind of helped do that. And then we've also been working on making these ideal client profiles and voice and tone docs for each client. So you can
Mm.
go into chat and drop these docs in there and say, okay, using this information, write me a blog about this. And it really helps capture their tone and gets you a lot farther in content writing than if you're just
Mhm.
like, pretend you're this and write, it goes a lot
Yeah.
faster too. So we've tested it out on our own company and it turns out some really good content. So
Yeah.
we are doing it for all our clients.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just kind of something internal that we use. Like we're showing it to our clients, but we're like, hey, just we're using this, to help with our content. And it's, just really informative and also helps, when we have new employees come in, they can read this and really get a good understanding of our clients.
Yeah. Man, I love that. Like the training of GPTs, even though it's like one of the easiest things to do, I still think it's underused in the agency space. So
Yeah.
that's good. Thank you for sharing that. Anything else, in your role, like client facing leadership at an agency, dealing with, B2B clients, if someone were to be in your shoes, what would you say is the most important thing that you need to know about marketing going into 2026?
I think in my role, I think it's that it's okay to not know everything. That was a hard thing for me to be like, I say to clients, I don't know, I'll get back to you, because you want to look, competent and knowledgeable. They're trusting you to know what to do and stuff. So always learning and saying, I don't know, I'll get back to you. And then actually, yes, getting back to them.
Yeah.
Because a lot of time, they'll be like, oh, okay, cool. And then you're like, yeah, I just sweated that for no reason.
Mm,
But then you also have learned something and you can use it again in the future and stuff. So don't get comfortable. I think that is just really important. And then also don't forget the importance of having genuine relationships and conversations, like being really authentic. I think that's what makes me successful. I swear like a sailor, I'm just kind of just real. And I think they really, appreciate that because being, in the clinical, just corporate jargon, it gets old, and you
yeah.
just want some genuine relationship. And, they're talking to us a lot. I mean, I, talk to my clients almost all of them every single week. They're sending, we want content, we want this, we want that. So you just kind of get to that point. And
Mm,
I think being real is definitely really important too, because then they'll trust you and want to come to you and ask you for help and stuff.
yeah. Be real, be yourself, and you don't have to know everything because that's AI's job to act like it knows everything. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And it's, I love being able to learn stuff and I love being able to be that person for the client to be able to comfortable to come ask me questions and stuff. And not having to worry about like, oh, is this going to be a billable thing? No, they can just come talk to me. Right. Like
Yeah.
we don't have that weird kind of awkwardness. It's just a good relationship and easy.
Yeah. Well, Elizabeth Carter, where can we learn more about you and about Red 66?
Yeah, yeah. I am on LinkedIn. So is Red66. You can also just check out our website, red66marketing.com. And yeah, we're around Grand Rapids and, we like to come visit. So we can always come visit you too.
Yeah, nice. Well, thank you so much for being here and enlightening us and sharing more from the perspective of what it's like to talk to the clients at the end of 2025 going into 2026. Because I know that's going to be almost the competitive advantage moving forward, first party
Mhm.
data from clients. So thank you very much for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It was a good talk.